Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 269th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. Life is good. Just talking a little sports.
Sure.
With my boys today. We're talking about Missouri basketball, who's good.
Oh, yeah.
Missouri football, who's good.
Good.
We got meaningful sports going on.
We didn't talk about this ahead of time, but that old college football playoff rankings came out.
Yeah, they did.
It's a little bit like, I don't know the right word, but immediately everybody went into, 12-team playoff. Missouri's ranked 12th. We'd be in the playoff next year. You know?
Yeah.
But that's not true. Because there's like automatic qualifiers. There's automatic bids for like a
Conferences.
group of 5 conferences.
I totally forgot about that.
So
I
I
guess
think-
I was one of the sheep.
I was one of them too, till it was pointed out. And so,
it's complicated then.
yeah,
It's gonna be
Missouri
complicated.
and Ole Miss and somebody else would be, like Penn State would be on the outside looking in with Air Force making it.
That's a travesty.
Yeah. Somebody said the things Ole Miss would do to Air Force on a football field would be like borderline criminal. I'd say that's true of Mizzou as well.
I'd still be happy to find out.
Yeah, maybe we will
That'd be entertaining.
in a bowl game or something. False alarm there on making the 12-team playoff.
Well, guess what? It's
after
only-
week 8
Yes.
in a season where that doesn't exist.
Yeah, they came out in October, so
Yeah. We're going to talk basketball. We're going to talk the biggest game in a decade almost for Mizzou football. Before we get into all of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review wherever you listen to us, and of course you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. And we're going to start with basketball. Last week we talked about all the players on the roster, sort of gave our predictions for who would be the top contributors and all that sort of thing. I named Nick Honor, Sean East, and Noah Carter as the heart and soul of this Missouri Tiger basketball team.
meat and potatoes.
Yeah. Is that like slightly insulting though? Like it's boring, meat and potatoes? Or like standard, you can count on it?
It's
guess
a
it could-
substance.
It could have been offensive. I apologize if it was. I like meat and potatoes. That's something I
yeah.
really enjoy.
Yeah.
What did you say? Substance.
Substance, yeah. It's like
Absolutely.
the substance of a meal.
It's it's very impactful part
Yeah.
of the team,
Yeah.
of the meal.
Yeah. That's like where you're getting most of your calories.
Exactly.
Okay. So how far can they take this Mizzou team, and how quickly will the transfers come in and mesh and, get everything rolling? We don't necessarily have to go game by game just because, I don't know, there's just so many unknowns still for the Mizzou team and the SEC opponents. It's just kind of crazy how across college basketball each year, so many programs are just like reinventing themselves in one off season, and good teams, bad teams, just transforming their roster in one off season to where you basically have to get like halfway through conference season before you know anything about, what the top 4 teams are going to be when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Small side note. I kind of feel like preseason rankings, like AP rankings, should not exist.
Yeah.
Because where you start affects how you move based on your wins and losses. And I just feel like there's some biases
Yeah.
that come in there. And I actually really like what the college football playoff does by coming up with the rankings halfway through the season, because
Yeah.
there's actually some context
Right.
and it's not just guessing and biases.
Yeah. And they seem to do a good job of like not thinking about what happened last year and just looking at
Georgia
each
coming in at number 2.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like how the selection committee in recent years has been doing that like sneak peek at the bracket, or like the top 16 teams, halfway through the season.
Yeah.
They'll kind of give you an idea of how they're looking at all these teams. And if you're one of those, then it just allows you to keep track and follow along a little easier. This is a little bit off topic, but Coach Gates is nonstop about expanding the NCAA tournament. And have you heard much of that from him?
I'm reasonably aware.
Yeah. So his argument makes sense, even though, like, I don't know, it's just one of those things where that type of change seems scary to me.
Yeah.
And I've not really ever liked the play-in games,
Yeah.
the first 4.
I think if I was ever going to disagree with Coach Gates on literally anything, it was probably going to be this.
His argument, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I feel like the current March Madness tournament is borderline holy.
Yeah.
And it should just not be messed with anymore.
So I think what he would say to that, from what I've heard in press conferences and stuff, is that sort of feeling around the tournament is relatively new. And up till very recently, it was expanding as Division I college basketball expanded. Just basically right alongside when there's new D1 programs, the tournament expands a little bit. And that there's been more D1 programs all along, since the 64 teams or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's saying, just keep up with the times, sort of like, keeping up with inflation.
Sure. Yeah, that always ends well. Yeah, I think, I don't know. Making it a little bit bigger is fine. But he's talking about significantly, like doubling the size of it.
Yeah.
I kind of just feel like it's currently in a good spot where it's like, if you make the tournament, you had to have a good season.
Yeah.
But it's still not like so difficult where it's like the college football playoff where there's 4 teams and there's only going to be like 7 teams that make the playoff in its entire history because it's so difficult to do.
Yeah.
I think the NCAA tournament is like a perfect mix of like difficulty to make it, like the specialness.
I can't disagree with you there. And yeah, I love Coach Gates, and maybe he'll win me over to his side at some point, but I'm not quite there yet. But he's adamant. He's going to keep after it. So I don't expect him to change his mind anytime soon. It would just be so weird to see a bunch of like teams are like under 500 in the tournament.
Yeah.
Like that gets made fun of across all sports when there's like a team with a losing
And it's
record
always
in
Syracuse.
the postseason.
It's always Syracuse, and they always go to the Elite Eight anyway.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's part of the argument. Yeah.
I was the most pro 12-team college football playoff person in the world. But I don't know, 68 teams is already a decent chunk.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
just play more games, not less.
Sure.
I would be more in favor of more than less.
Yeah.
But I like it as is.
So looking at this Mizzou schedule, we'll first just talk about the non-conference schedule, which is, I feel like, kind of, there's some polar opposites as far as the competition that Missouri will face. I kind of broke it down like this. There's 13 non-conference games. 6 of those 13 games are home games against teams ranked 200th in KenPom or worse.
You could say it.
Bad teams.
Cupcake.
Absolute cupcakes. These 6 games you cannot lose. And if you have only won these 6 games when it comes to conference play, that's not a good sign. And I'll always remember I hate to even mention his name, but the Kim Anderson era. Consistently, we were always winning the minimum number of games in non-conference play. And it always like perfectly correlated to how the rest of the season would go. When we were winning less than 10 non-conference games, we were winning like 5 conference games. So when I'm looking at 13 non-conference games, got to win those 6 cupcakes at home. But then where it gets really interesting is these 7 other games. Memphis and Wichita State at home, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Kansas as true road games, and then Seton Hall in Kansas City and Illinois in St. Louis. Those 7 games are going to give us, I think, a really good picture of where this Mizzou team is at and what we can expect in conference play.
Yeah, I feel like this is actually a very well-balanced like non-conference schedule where, you do have some just absolute cupcake, like tune-up type games, and then you have some very difficult true road games where kind of prepares you for conference season. And then, like you said, some kind of just perfectly pick 'em type games on neutral sites. Those are definitely fun college basketball games.
We can probably just run through it quickly, though.
Let's run through it.
Arkansas Pine Bluff, Monday, November 6th, right around the corner.
Is that that's the worst team they play according to Bart Torvik?
Yeah, there's Arkansas Pine Bluff, South Carolina State a little bit later, and Central Arkansas, the game right before conference play. Those are all 300 level KenPom teams, and those should be absolute blowouts, and we should get to see 12 or 13 different Mizzou players on the court in those games. But after Arkansas Pine Bluff, there is a home challenge against Memphis, who is a projected tournament team, and they have hit the transfer portal pretty hard. They've got some good guys. I think they're ranked 32 in the preseason KenPom rankings, so that's going to be an immediate challenge. And it just kind of goes back and forth from there. SIU Edwardsville at home, Minnesota as the first true road game of the season. And if I'm looking at Memphis at home and Minnesota on the road, I would love to just split those two games.
Yeah. You'd be happy going 1-1?
Yeah. Memphis is the tougher opponent, but we get them at home. Minnesota's triple-digit KenPom team, but it's a true road game. So I like that, in the first 10 days of the basketball season, we're getting both of those challenges thrown at us. Are you happy with splitting those?
Yeah. Which one do we win, though?
I think we win the road game. I think we go knock off Minnesota on the road, and we get that early loss, second game of the season. We lose to Memphis at home, but that's one of those games where it's like, it's going to be a fun game to watch, I think, because it's like an early challenge, two pretty good teams. And I don't know. I just feel like you don't always get that so early in the non-conference season.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll flip it. I'll say we'll beat Memphis and lose in Minnesota.
It definitely feels like a classic split situation. Then 3 home games in a row that should be wins: Jackson State, South Carolina State, Loyola, Maryland. Those are like, you win all 3 of those 90% of the time. Then another true road matchup against Pittsburgh.
That's so random. Such a random team to play.
Yeah, and the football team has decided, we're no longer going like far out of our recruiting footprint for a true road game. And the basketball team doing that a little bit here.
I think, is this the ACC SEC challenge?
Yes, I think you're right.
So they were forced into it.
That's true.
But I mean, I that's what I love about college basketball specifically, is there's so many games, like, I don't know, you can afford to just play some super random games like this. And like just kind of, I mean, I'm pretty sure Arkansas is hosting Duke, which is just the most random match, like 2 teams to play.
But it's super fun for the fans.
Yeah, imagine getting to host Duke just because of one of these little SEC like conference challenges.
I mean, stay in the top of the conference for a little while and you might get your chance.
Yeah.
Then Missouri returns home. So this 3-game stretch here: at Pittsburgh, home against Wichita State, and then a road game in Lawrence, Kansas against the Jayhawks. So there's, and I'll just continue that into a 5-game stretch here, because then you have this really cool back-to-back Seton Hall in Kansas City, and then immediately you go to St. Louis to play Illinois. So that's 5 games in a row against the type of competition that Missouri's going to face in conference play: Pittsburgh, Wichita State, Kansas, Seton Hall, and Illinois. And man, I don't know, like Wichita State at home should be a win. But the rest of those, like 2 true road games and then Illinois, I don't know. That's going to just be a part of the season where we find out a lot about this team.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna know quite a bit going into conference season.
You think they can get 3 of those 5?
Yeah, I've got them. Are you including Pittsburgh in that?
Yes.
Yeah, I have them going 3-2 in that stretch.
Okay.
Losses to Pittsburgh and Kansas.
Gotcha. Yeah, we got to pick a win against Illinois.
Absolutely. So I've got them going 10-3 in non-conference.
Because they end it with a blowout win at home against Central Arkansas. 10-3, you have it with losses to Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Kansas.
Yeah.
All true road games. I'm going to go with you, but I'm going to just keep that flip of we lose to Memphis but beat Minnesota. So 10-3 in the non-conference. That sets us up nicely for the type of conference season where you don't have to do anything too crazy to put yourself in a position to make the NCAA tournament. And before we get into the conference schedule completely, like we're sitting here at 10-3, maybe this team shows us something special and we're 11-2. Maybe they drop one they shouldn't have and they're 9-4. But somewhere around 10 wins in the non-conference schedule, that, to me, that lines up perfectly with a team who is going to be sort of on the bubble. Of course, it'll depend on how they look in some of those matchups. But anything outside of like going undefeated and like challenging Kansas at their place, I don't know that we're going to be able to be riding too high off of this non-conference schedule. It would take a pretty incredible and unexpected start to the season for me to feel like, oh, wow, this Mizzou team is another top 4 in the SEC type of team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like if they went, 9-4, 10-3 is kind of just without the nuance of knowing how the games went.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of just on par with your expectations.
Yeah. So then, before we go game by game here, is your mindset that this is like a bubble team, or I feel like you can't really expect much more than that right now?
Yeah, I would say that's actually somebody in the YouTube comments left an interesting comment that I agreed with maybe last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even remember what it was off the top of my head exactly, but it was basically that the team could be better this season than they were last year,
yeah,
but have a worse record.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a really good observation. Like, it did feel like we kind of stole some games last year.
Yeah.
Like the game, several buzzer beaters,
overtime win.
Oh yeah. It did feel like we maybe were fortunate to have the record we had last year. Not that they were not deserving of it.
Sure.
But I don't think necessarily that they'll be better this year than last year, but that's a scenario that I could see playing out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say maybe expect a little bit of regression, like record wise, and probably a bubble team.
So then, to sort of like back our way into what the conference record would need to look like, I feel like you kind of need to go 500 in conference play to feel good about your NCAA tournament situation. Like, you win 10 games in the non-conference, you go 9-9 in conference play, and you're sitting there with 19 wins on the season, and that going 500 in the SEC and having around 20 wins in the regular season the last 4 or 5 years has been good enough to get you in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
One exception would be like last year, Florida had a pretty good conference schedule or conference record, but their non-conference was just terrible, and so they didn't make the NCAA tournament. But I think like 2 teams lower than them in the SEC standings did. That's a bit of an outlier. That doesn't usually happen. So my sort of expectation is you just got to go 500 in conference play. Anything better than that is gravy. They start off with a home game against Georgia. Georgia is probably going to be a little bit better this year, but I still think you pencil that in as a win.
That's a win.
And then go to Rupp Arena to play Kentucky. Might as well pencil that in as a loss.
I have it as a win.
A win?
I have some intel
About Kentucky?
is fraudulent
Oh my goodness, you heard it here
this
first.
season. That's a win
Okay.
for Mizzou at Rep Arena.
Okay. I like it. Come back home and play South Carolina. That's a win.
Ken Palm's got them at 66.
Yeah.
That seems generous.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that being lower or being a worse number by the time Missouri plays them.
Mm-hmm.
Then okay, you don't get too crazy on me now.
I won't.
We're going on the road at Alabama.
That's a loss.
That's a loss. Come back home to play Florida.
That's a 50-50 game, but I'm going to say win.
Okay. Now, Ken Palm has this little stretch that I'm about to rattle off as like a little bit of a danger mode.
There will be a worse stretch, but yes, I agree.
Okay. Back-to-back road games against Texas A&M and South Carolina.
Yeah, I've got Texas A&M as a loss and South Carolina as a win.
Okay.
So I think we'll sweep South Carolina.
Sweep South Carolina.
Interesting that we play them like twice within a few weeks.
Yeah. That happens a couple other times here with other teams. Then what I think is one of the bigger games of the season is a home game against Arkansas.
Yeah, I have it as a win.
Okay. I like that.
I just pencil it in. Home games against Arkansas, we win. On the road, we lose, and we just split every year.
Yeah. There's no reason to do anything other than that. Road game against Vanderbilt. Can we pull it off in that weird little basketball arena?
I think so. I think it's a win.
I like that. Come back home to play.
Now here's a stretch right here.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it. Come back home to play Texas A&M.
I think it's a loss. I think stylistically, and I'll just tell you, the next game after this is a home game. Home game against Mississippi State. I think we lose them both. Stylistically, we just don't match up well with these teams that are like grinded out. They have effective bigs that rebound and score inside. Just take the L and move on.
Maroon. Adidas schools.
Maroon, Adidas, SEC schools. It's a loss.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
I apologize.
Then a winnable road game at Ole Miss.
I think Ole Miss might be sneaky good this year.
Okay.
It's a loss.
Okay. Then another huge matchup, a home game against Tennessee.
It's a loss.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we probably used up all our luck in that matchup last year.
Yeah.
Road game at Florida. We are deep into conference play here.
I think you skipped Arkansas.
Sorry about that. A road game against Arkansas.
You already know my feelings?
Yeah, I wanted to skip that.
That's, yeah.
So 2 back-to-back road games. We're going at Arkansas. We're going at Florida.
Currently, I have them on a 5-game losing streak.
Yikes. And that includes Florida?
No.
Oh.
But it will.
Oh, okay.
They will lose to Florida. I just hadn't got there yet.
Oh, so now it's 6. I
Now
got
it's
you. Florida is a team this season that I think is going to be kind of neck and neck with Missouri in the SEC standings. I'm looking at Florida. I'm looking at Mississippi State. I'm looking at Georgia, LSU. Like those are the
Could be improved.
Those are the teams that Missouri needs to kind of separate themselves from if they want to be in the top half of the league this year. So getting a road win against Florida would be huge, but that's going to be a tough ask. I agree with you there. Come back home to play Ole Miss.
I think that's a win. So that ends the 6-game skid.
Ooh. And that's the type of thing that would get me a little nervous. You know, those are games in February where it's like if you're kind of stumbling to the finish line there.
Trending down to end the year.
Yeah, not a good look for your tournament resume. You just got to hope that you did enough work earlier in the season. And then a home game against Auburn. We're now into March. Home game against Auburn. Auburn's going to be pretty good.
I say loss.
Okay. And then ending the season, a road matchup against LSU. And I have this circled as like a game that is going to have pretty big ramifications for the SEC standings and the NCAA tournament. I think LSU and Missouri are going to be neck and neck in both of those races.
I predicted loss because it's on the road. And I think I agree with you. I think it'll be 2 pretty evenly matched teams. So I'll just give the edge to the home team.
What does that put your win total at?
In conference, 8-10.
Yeah.
Overall, 18-13, which is exactly what Bart Torvik has predicted.
Yes. Ken Palm also has 8 conference wins, but a overall record of 17-14.
What do you think? Is that this exact schedule, basically, is that with these wins and these losses, is that good enough to get in? That's like true bubble.
8-10 is like we are crossing our fingers and very nervous on Selection Sunday.
Just hoping for that like 10 or 11 seed.
Yeah, that's maybe even you're in the first 4 situation. That's like maybe last 4 in territory. Was there? Let me look here. Last year in the SEC, Mississippi State was at 8-10 with 21 wins overall, and they were an 11 seed in the NCAA tournament.
There was an SEC team that kind of got snubbed, and that was Florida?
Yeah, Florida was 9-9. So Arkansas was an 8 seed at 8-10 in conference play.
That's true. And they ended up making a little bit of a run, didn't they?
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
All the teams you hate are good. That is life.
Yeah. I don't know what game in particular, but I think this Missouri team gets one of those in the 6-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Give me one of those to give me a 9-9 record.
It's such a grind. Conference season is just...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just see Missouri sort of being in that blob of the middle of the conference where there's like...
Just literally win a couple games that you shouldn't or lose a couple that you shouldn't. And I mean, you go from 5th place to 11th place real quick.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Exactly. And the SEC is going to have, 8 teams within 2 games of each other in the final standings. It's been that way every year for like the last 5 years. Almost you have to hope that unless it's going to be Missouri, you kind of have to hope that an Alabama or a Tennessee or somebody just only has like 2 conference losses and is just destroying everyone to try to create a little separation there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking that's 500 in conference play and sneaking into the NCAA tournament, even if you're sort of like backing your way in, going to the tournament 2 years in a row would be, I think, big for the program to just kind of be like, this is what a Dennis Gates down year looks like.
Yeah. In a weird way, it feels like, okay, we took the training wheels off for Dennis Gates. In his first year, he kind of, had some comfort ads with, some of his guys from Cleveland State, some guys he's familiar with, some guys that know his style of play and his coaching style. And so he took what he was comfortable to him, and it worked out really well. The second year, a lot of those guys are gone. It's almost in a weird way like a new beginning. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think we'll have an answer to the question of like, it's easy to be like, oh, well, last year you had 2 pros.
Yeah.
But those guys were not pros before last year.
That is true.
So is there a guy on this team that can show you, hey, we do have a pro on this team?
Yeah, I think it's probably Trent Pierce.
That's the thing. So we might be just
But I don't know if he's there yet, though.
Exactly. Yeah. So we might just be waiting for him to develop and be the pro player in college that can lead this team to the next level like Kobe Brown did.
Yeah, I think he'll show you flashes this year, but maybe not be. He's not going to be Kobe Brown level of involvement in his freshman season.
Now, if Missouri were to surprise everyone and have a special season again, to me, I do think that like Trent Pierce being super impactful and like freshman, like making like first team all freshman in the SEC is a must. And a much more well-rounded performance and like consistent performance from Noah Carter all season long is a must.
Yeah, basically he's going to have to continue to turn up his offensive game, which is what he does the best, and just figure out how to stay on the court. Like, just play good enough defense to stay out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm hoping, and that may be part of this roster construction with just some of these huge human beings that we have that we can put in there at the 5 spot.
Just rotate him in and out.
Yeah, just kind of
get a couple fouls and come out of the game.
Yeah, cover up Noah Carter a little bit, help him out, and just let your guards kind of create havoc in the backcourt, and you may have something there defensively. I think we're in for another season where like the advanced metrics are going to be a little bit confused by Missouri's defense. If it feels like what Dennis Gates needs is like Jordan Butler and like some of the guys in the recruiting class this year to be established as like your rim protectors and stuff. I just don't know that. Obviously, Connor Vanover can be an excellent rim protector, but I just don't know that he has the all-around game that's going to keep him on the court enough.
I agree.
And Trent Pierce feels like he
is not a rim protector.
No, he's going to take the stretch for like all-around offensive threat. He's going to sort of take that mantle from Noah Carter, and then you bring in some of these younger guys to protect the rim. So
they're just going to have to get creative again, like they were last year. Yeah. With the interior.
And that's where I think, Carlero Martin is like a sneaky guy who, if you're going to be like, hey, listen, if teams are getting to the rim, they're probably going to score. So we're going to outscore them by just having 5 guys on the floor that can make a 3 and space everything out, run in transition, and sort of mitigate those, sort of like lean into your strengths and then just don't even worry about your weaknesses. That's kind of what they did last year, and I feel like they kind of take that strategy again.
I totally disagree. I think he'll be playing point exclusively.
What?
I'm just joking. He's got that in his skill set.
I mean...
I'm just joking. Mainly, though.
I could see that they'll...
5% point guard.
They can get creative with him. Okay. When he's
Nick
on the
Connor's
floor...
going to be playing 40 minutes.
Yeah, probably. When Carlero Martin's on the floor or Vanover, it's not going to look like a normal 5-spot guy, regardless of who else is out there. I'm still excited just to, I don't know, the depth of the team is sort of something that we haven't had in a while, where it's like there's going to be a combination of guys that should be able to get hot in any given game. We've got enough 3-point shooters to make it work. You think Noah Carter is our leading scorer?
Leading scorer.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could see it being a bit tighter than last year and maybe a little bit more even, where there's like 4 or 5 guys around double figures. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it'll be really cool to see some of these non-conference matchups early in the season. I mean, literally right around the corner. The Memphis game is on the 10th. Minnesota's on the 16th. So we're going to have opportunities to run up the score a little bit and have some fun in 2 of those games against Arkansas Pine Bluff and SIU Edwardsville.
When's Pine Bluff? That's the 5th? 6th?
The 6th, Monday.
So before we record next, we will play a basketball game.
Yeah. Arkansas Pine Bluff. In the Ken Pom preseason rankings, they're ranked 339th. They're coming off...
That's better than somebody.
Yeah. A few teams, yeah. They're coming off a 10-win season last year. So that's all the scouting report you're going to get.
Double-digit wins.
That's all the scouting you're going to get on Arkansas Pine Bluff. Head coach Solomon Bozeman. That's it.
Nice job.
Yeah. I'm excited for the season. However, we have a much more exciting game to talk about this week, other than preseason hoops talk, because your Missouri Tiger football team is ranked 12th in the college football playoff, and the Georgia Bulldogs have been dethroned from their number 1 spot.
Without even losing.
They didn't even lose, and they dropped a spot to number 2 because the first college football playoff rankings came out, like we talked about earlier. We've got Georgia at number 2, so 7-1 Mizzou at 8-0 Georgia. Just, that's not going to happen every year.
Yeah, just soak this in.
Maybe
this whole week.
Now, maybe that will happen every year moving forward. It's not something we're used to.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to scare you, Cameron, but This is the biggest football game that Missouri has played in a decade.
I've heard that a few times.
Yeah.
Since the
10 years. 9 years, maybe?
That's
a long
A
time.
decade sounds better, even if it's, fudging it a little bit. But since the SEC championship game against Alabama that Mizzou kind of like backed their way into.
Yeah.
And that's such a strange season. Losing to Indiana and then getting housed by Georgia 34-0,
Yes.
but then still winning the East.
Yeah.
Bizarre season, but we'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, if you pull this game off, we're talking about every game from here on out becomes like the biggest game you've had in a decade.
Yeah.
Because of the opportunity that is in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, Coach Drink in his press conference was trying to, I think he took the perfect angle with it that, and he's been doing this ever since the Kansas State game. I mean, everything he has said in press conferences and stuff and everything I've heard from the players has just made me feel really good about this team. And he came out and said that, people are acting like if we beat Georgia, then we've won the East. But that is just not true because there's 3 more SEC games after that. And obviously, 2 of them are against good teams. And then on the flip side, it's like if you lose this game, then there's nothing to play for after that, which is also not true.
Not true. Yeah.
So, yeah, you're still playing for, a rare for Missouri 10-win season.
Yeah.
And like a New Year's 6 bowl appearance potentially. Yeah. So it felt really good to hear Coach Drink just sort of put that into perspective and be like, yeah, these are the 2 extremes. And obviously the truth in this situation is somewhere in the middle where this is a huge opportunity, but our season doesn't end after this game either way.
Right.
And I feel like that's the type of attitude that you want from your team when, as fans, we think they have a legitimate chance to win this game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you look through Missouri's somewhat recent history as games that stand out to you that you'll remember for the rest of your life. Kansas in 2007 and Oklahoma in 2010, Texas A&M in 2012. This game is up there.
Yeah.
With that level of like legendary status.
Yeah.
If we're able to pull it off.
Yeah.
And obviously that will depend on what happens after this, if that does happen. But we're just talking about things that just don't come around very often. And we got to really, really soak it up.
So this Georgia team, 8-0, but their best win is a significant blowout of Kentucky, but a team that Missouri also beat. I think it's very clear that this Mizzou team is the best team Georgia has played this year by quite a bit.
Yeah, and they would agree with that.
Yeah.
Georgia would.
Oh, yeah. Well, Kirby Smart was talking up this Mizzou team and the job Coach Drink has done. He was really talking them up in his press conference.
I don't like that.
What else is he going to do? But, yeah, they're really respecting their opponent in this one. Just to run through Georgia's schedule a little bit, Georgia beat South Carolina 24-14. They beat Auburn 27-20. They beat Vanderbilt 37-20. Beat Kentucky 51-13. And they beat Florida most recently 43-20.
Yeah, so if you recall, both teams were undefeated whenever they played Kentucky, and Kentucky looked pretty good. And that was a game that Georgia had to take seriously.
Yeah.
It didn't look like they took South Carolina very seriously.
Agree.
But that's what I'm afraid of, is like, oh, this is a good team. We have to play better. We have to take this seriously. We have to prepare. And that is one of the most scary things about this entire game to me, is the mindset of Georgia coming in.
I agree with you. However, I don't think that Missouri, I mean, it's easy for me to say because Missouri beat Kentucky already. But Missouri, that's where like the pessimistic outlook for like the rest of the season creeps in a little bit. Still having Florida and Tennessee on the schedule and Arkansas where technically anything could happen.
Never know.
It's like, this could be, there's just like this little part of me that's like, okay, Georgia, exposes Missouri, and we just do Kentucky, but in November. We do Kentucky's October in November.
Just kind of fall off the tracks a little bit.
Yeah, get blown out and then, lose a home game you shouldn't, or you can't get back up for the next big game afterwards. But Coach Drink's words in the press conference kind of make me feel a little bit better about that.
Well, let me take you through the 3 mutual games that Georgia and Missouri have both played. Both Georgia and Missouri have played against South Carolina, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. You just kind of went over this, but they beat South Carolina by 10.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri beat them by 22.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Kentucky by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. I can't even do that math in my head. But and Georgia beat Vanderbilt by 17. Missouri also beat Vanderbilt by 17. So Georgia's got a plus-minus differential of 65 points against those 3 teams, and Missouri has a plus 56 points. So they've really been pretty even when you look at the mutual opponents.
Yeah.
And really, when you look at Georgia's offense and Missouri's offense, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
They've kind of had similar seasons. This is not your old school ground and pound Georgia team that you maybe have seen in the past. They really want to throw it around a lot. They're pretty explosive. They're very efficient. And I mean, they'll run the ball. They can do that. But they average 340 pass yards a game. That's first in the SEC, first in the SEC East.
Mm-hmm.
And 172 rush yards, which is second in the SEC East. But so they will definitely be looking to just pass the ball all game long, whether they're winning or losing.
Yeah, and obviously they're without Brock Bowers, so that hurts them in sort of their efficiency.
Right. Yeah, Brock Bowers, All-American tight end.
Yeah.
He was their leading receiver, still is, by 200 yards, and hasn't played for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a significant loss for them, not having Brock Bowers. And they kind of just have a bunch of dudes at wide receiver. Just nobody really standing out. Dominic Lovett is actually their leading receiver as far as receptions and yards go if you take out Brock Bowers.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like the next 4 guys as far as pass catchers are just kind of interchangeable, where none of them are terrifying to look at on the roster, but they're all just very solid.
Yep.
And any one of them can beat you.
Yeah, solid was definitely the word I'm thinking. I don't really think any of these guys are elite. And Missouri's played much better wide receivers individually, like Malik Neighbors and Xavier Legette, and some of those guys I think would all be the best wide receiver on Georgia's team easily. But yeah, Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint, Lad McConkey, those are names for sure, but I'm not sure any of those guys really scare you individually.
And the backup for Bowers, Oscar Delp, he has been making some plays since he's been the starter. So
yeah, he's playing the Washington role. I feel kind of like the change of pace tight end that will just kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah. And the guy throwing them the ball, Carson Beck, is completing 73% of his passes this year. 2,462 yards through the air, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And his best play has been recently.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, if you're a Georgia fan, it's got to be nice to see him executing without Brock Bowers, who was the ultimate safety blanket for him.
Yeah. Okay, trivia time.
Okay.
Do you know who Georgia's offensive coordinator is?
I do. I know Mike Bobo.
Okay. Good job. Do you know where Mike Bobo played college football?
Georgia?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know what position he played?
Quarterback?
Yes.
Okay.
3 for 3.
Oh, that's it?
Great job.
Okay, thanks.
You know Mike Bobo history.
Oh, I know Bobo.
I feel like he's pretty much only coached in the SEC. He's just an SEC guy.
Yeah.
And we love him.
And he was the Georgia offensive coordinator way back when, under whatever that guy's name
Mark
was.
Richt.
Yeah, and Matthew Stafford days.
Yeah. And they went to South Carolina.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
He was head coach at Colorado State for a little bit.
One season.
It may be.
We like Mike Bobo around here.
Mike Bobo.
Not this weekend.
No.
But every other weekend.
Yeah. Georgia's rushing attack Edwards is the main guy. They have also got Kendall Milton. I just combined their stats to try to get an idea what we're dealing with here. On 144 carries combined, they're at 800 yards and 12 touchdowns. So either one of them can take it to the house. Both of them just like fall forward. They're always just kind of getting that extra yard at the end of runs. And I feel like what I hope Georgia does is try to establish the run. And Missouri is like, no, that's the thing that we know we can slow you down. And if you want to kind of make this an uglier game that's lower scoring, I feel like Missouri's okay with that as far as Missouri's defense.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, our offense, we feel good about what we have on offense. So if you want to limit yourself by not going for as many explosive plays, I feel like that plays right into Missouri's hands a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's opportunity in the pass rush because we went toe to toe with LSU. I think Jaden Daniels is probably the best player in the country. He's probably like if the season ended today, he's probably winning the Heisman.
Yeah,
potentially, or he's attending the ceremony for sure.
For sure.
And he is so versatile and just a completely polar opposite player from Carson Beck. I'm so less afraid of Beck and like his ability. And I mean, he's good. He's very precise. Mm-hmm. He's got a cannon for an arm, but he's a statue. Yeah. And that just takes away an entire dimension of your offense whenever you don't have to spy the quarterback at every play, be worried about him escaping the pocket, because I just don't think that's what he's going to do. I really think Missouri's defense has a good opportunity to look pretty impressive in this game.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me there is I think Georgia's offensive line will be the best one we've seen so far.
Sure.
And what Missouri's defensive line was able to do against South Carolina and Kentucky, it's not going to come as easy in this game.
Sure.
And it feels like to get through and like sack Carson Beck like once per half, I feel like is a win. Like sack him twice in a big spot, and that you're going to need a couple of those to change the game. But just enough pressure consistently to make him speed up just a little bit is going to be huge. But if it goes poorly, like if Georgia's offensive line is up to the task, then it's going to be a long day for the Missouri defense. I think we'll see Beck just kind of sitting back there and waiting for a guy to inevitably come open.
Yeah, that might be the key of the game, is what can the defensive line do?
Because I'm confident in Missouri's secondary up to a point where no secondary can keep up their coverage for, when a quarterback's just sitting back there and has all the time in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the scariest thing to me about Georgia's offense is how they're just clutch. Like, they're really efficient.
Yeah.
They are third in the country in third down conversion percentage at 56%.
Sheesh.
56% of the time they're converting on third down.
And Missouri already played the team that's best in the country, right?
Yeah, LSU was like 59% or something like that, which is it felt like that in the game.
Yeah, that's the Jaden Daniels effect.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's just, and we talked about it after we played LSU, that was just demoralizing whenever you feel like you play pretty well on first and second down, and then you give up a 3rd and 13, and it just whatever. So Missouri's got to get off the field on third down, which that is easier said than done against Georgia. And then in the red zone, they have scored in 42 out of 46 trips to the red zone. That includes field goals, but that's just efficiency, man. And they're well coached. They don't turn the ball over a lot. They don't get a lot of penalties. You're gonna have to figure out a way to create some havoc plays to mix things up a little bit, make them get out of sync a little bit.
One thing that Missouri's defense has been doing recently, more so than earlier in the season, is sort of forcing teams to slow things down a little bit and methodically drive down the field. We need to force Georgia into, 10, 11, 12 play drives. If they're going to score a touchdown, it can't come in like 3 plays. That's going to be a disaster, I think, because Missouri's offense, maybe I'm wrong about this, but Missouri's offense, I think, will have opportunities, and I think it's going to be a little bit extreme for Missouri's offense. I feel like we're going to be either sort of sputtering on the negative side of the field and having to punt, but I think when Missouri gets some momentum on a drive, they'll capitalize. And I found this random stat, but Georgia ranks 124th in defensive red zone touchdown rate. So that's a weakness for this Georgia defense. If Missouri can get into the red zone,
they break, don't bend.
Exactly. So gotta break them open a couple times.
Yeah.
And I feel like what we've seen from Missouri's offense outside of like the first couple drives of games is getting those chunk plays in the middle of the field, like around the 50-yard line. When you get that 30-yard toss to Luther Burden, when you get a broken tackle, when you get Theo Weiss outside, then it's just like we're watching this Mizzou offense. Maybe they've punted once and they've handed it off a few times, and then you just get that strike for 15 to 30 yards down the field, and then it's like, okay, now we're rolling. We're getting into our hurry up.
Yeah.
And so far, Missouri's offense this year has been able to turn those into touchdowns. Gonna need touchdowns, not field goals.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to have to take some risks and find ways to create sparks. I mean, I think Georgia would agree with this too. I mean, Luther Burden is the most talented player in this game for either team.
Yeah.
He's going to be the best player on the field. And Georgia knows that. They recruited him. They wanted him really bad.
Yeah.
And so they know all about him.
Yeah.
And they're going to do their best to try to take him away. We got to, I don't know. Do you try to just keep forcing it to Luther if things don't work right away? Or do you try to find other ways to get other people involved? I don't think you can win it without Luther Burden being really involved.
Yeah, but you can't force anything. That just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Desperation.
Yeah. If it looks like we're forcing things, then I'm scared.
Yeah, because, I mean, we saw Luther Burden kind of disappear against Kentucky. Didn't really matter.
Right.
It will matter against Georgia.
Yeah.
So, going to have to find ways to I mean, he's probably going to be facing some double coverage and stuff like that. So, going to have to be smart.
Is there an aspect of the game as far as like a matchup or something? Give me the aspect of the game that you feel most confident in Mizzou looking good.
I'll probably say Mizzou run game.
Okay.
I think the offensive line's been playing really well. They've been creating a lot of holes for Cody Schrader and nobody else, because nobody else plays. I think Cody Schrader will play 110% of the snaps. And I think
he's healthy.
Bye week got everybody healthy.
Yeah.
Cody Schrader will be playing a lot, and I think he'll have over 100 yards rushing. 2 touchdowns.
This might be a little, I don't know, esoteric or something, but I feel confident that during the bye week, Coach Drink and Kirby Moore have identified some things. You know, what those are exactly, I don't know, but I am definitely confident. Maybe I'm even more confident in Kirby Moore than Coach Drink. Although Coach Drink 4-0 after a bye week. Who did they play? I don't know. Don't ask.
Doesn't matter.
4-0 after a bye week.
Okay. That's something.
I feel like I have some confidence in them to be poring over Georgia film and having, when we get this look from their defense, I think we've got this or this. And I...
Shout out random analysts who are up all night studying Georgia.
Yes. I feel like coming off the bye week, there's opportunity there to... There's got to be some plays in the back of their minds that, on offense at least, they've sort of had in their back pocket, or there's a new wrinkle to a few plays that they can implement that sort of give Georgia a look that they've seen before, but then we do something else out of it. And I feel like there's going to be some big plays from Missouri's offense that will be a result of identifying some of that stuff in the bye week.
Over under 0.5 double passes.
Give me the under.
Okay, that's probably a nice conservative bet.
I don't.
How legendary would that be if they just ran the what's it called, Colt 45? Yeah. They just run that again and it works.
I mean, you throw the ball to Luther Burden at the sideline and he launches it to Theo Weiss.
He's bringing all the defenses coming in if he catches the ball on like a little horizontal pass.
Yeah. If they
Marquise Johnson's definitely catching it deep, right?
That's actually a good point. Yeah. Ooh. Might have to try it.
That would be the most legendary thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. You know what we haven't seen out of Coach Drink offense in a while? The flea flicker.
Oh, okay, yeah. They did that. It worked a few times against LSU in whenever that was, 2020.
Yeah. That feels like that flea flicker worked more than it should have, though. And like eventually it just stopped working. It's like, okay, we'll forget that.
Oh, yeah. Offensive line's good enough to hold. Yeah. You could see a flea flicker this weekend. Yeah, I feel like
you're confident in the offensive line?
Something weird.
You talked about them making holes for Schrader. You feel like they protect Brady Cook well in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, they have to shake the random like penalties and like horrible moments. That's probably where I feel like least confident is just the penalties and stuff like that. But at this point, yeah, I think I trust them even against Georgia's front. I think they'll be all right. I mean, I really do. Like Georgia's defense is probably a little bit better than Missouri's, but like honestly, like I see Missouri and Georgia as like pretty similar teams.
Yeah,
this season.
Mm-hmm.
And
Georgia's defense is not the defense. Georgia's team is not the team from last year that went undefeated. That Missouri had on the ropes.
They're still like a national championship quality team and are significantly worse than they were last year.
Yeah. And I would argue they are a little bit worse than 2 years ago as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But they won 25 games in a row.
25 games.
The last time Georgia lost a home game was October 2019, a double overtime 20-17 loss to South Carolina. And was that, I think we've talked about this before on the show, but was that the game that we were watching like on your phone while we were at the Mizzou basketball open practice?
It could have been.
Does that timeline line up?
What year would that have been?
2019, October 2019.
That was it.
Okay.
Because that would have been a homecoming weekend where Missouri beat Ole Miss.
Yeah. And we were at the open practice. That was like the most boring thing you've ever seen in your life.
It was.
We went to Mizzou Madness the year before. That was like electric and so fun.
Yeah.
And then
it was like Okongo, dribbling the ball around.
Yeah. We watched them shoot free throws.
Yeah.
It was still kind of fun, but not quite Mizzou Madness.
Right. Yeah. So that was a long time ago.
That was the last time they lost a home game.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about all-time streaks. Like it's up there.
Yeah.
Like especially in modern day football. I was actually looking up some of the longest streaks in college football history, and a lot of them are like the 1800s and stuff like that. Like literally like Civil War days. Like the Virginia Commonwealth winning like 49 games in a row.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what they're doing in like the modern day is basically unheard of. And that's why
I want to be
Missouri's
the one that
win.
ends the streak. Oh, man. But Missouri, out of all the SEC teams, is there anybody less scared to go to Athens, Georgia, and beat them between the hedges?
Playing with house money. Nothing to lose.
We've done it before. We'll do it again.
Absolutely nothing to lose. Nobody saw Missouri starting off 7-1.
No. Well, some people in our YouTube comments saw it.
That's true.
Shout out to them. Unironically. Missouri's going to win this game.
The streak ends this weekend.
Yeah. Missouri is not scared of Georgia. Last year, they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook last year. We're not letting them off any hooks this year.
Not going anywhere.
I think Missouri wins this game. I think we've got a healthy Ennis Rakestraw and KAD back there. They're going to lock them down. They're going to see this as a challenge. Now, Oscar Delp, he's going to make a few plays.
There is nothing you can do about
Oscar Delp is going to be, here's a prediction for you. Oscar Delp is going to be the leading receiver for Georgia, and that's a good thing for the Missouri Tigers.
In a parallel universe where Georgia wins this game, I do feel like it's neck and neck, and then Ladd McConkey just makes the most clutch catch in the corner of the end zone you've ever seen.
He's good.
He is so annoyingly good.
Yeah.
But that's a different universe.
Yeah.
Than the one we're in.
In this universe, Chris Abrams-Drain is going to get his 5th interception, or Rakestraw get his 1st of the season.
Absolutely.
They're going to pick off Carson Beck. We're going to get one huge sack in the first half, one huge sack in the second half. Brady Cook's going to play out of his mind. You like Schrader to go over 100 yards. I'm with you. Missouri's going to win this game 29-26. I think both teams are going to try to feel things out a little bit. Both teams are going to maybe start out a little bit conservative. Both teams maybe don't want to be the first team to make a huge mistake.
Missouri will go 3 and out on the first drive.
Please win the toss and defer.
Yes. Just write that in. But after that,
if they win the toss, if Missouri wins the toss and defers,
it's over.
Game over.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Missouri wins this game on a Mevis field goal, 34-31.
It's going to happen. I'm so excited for this game. I haven't been this excited for a Mizzou football game since... I was pretty excited for the LSU game because we were going to it.
I can't stop smiling, just even on this podcast talking about it.
Yeah. I've watched the highlights of the 2013 game, I don't know, maybe 10 times over the course of the bye week.
Man, the bye week was painful.
Yeah.
It felt like an eternity.
Yeah, luckily there was enough little, the college football playoff rankings coming out. Some of that stuff was okay, it's giving me something to latch onto here, but mostly it was highlights that I was watching. And I'm still on the random SEC coach press conference viewing schedule.
Oh, yeah, that's appointment television.
Yeah,
what was Kirby saying? He was talking us up?
Yeah, he was very complimentary of everything we got going on, and but in a somewhat generic way, to where it felt, it's a little bit coach speaky, and I don't know. I feel like
nothing groundbreaking.
No, I don't know what I want out of the media around this game. Part of me wants just everybody to. Not part of me. I want everybody to pick Georgia. Please, I know it's they got demoted to number 2, playing number 12. It's hard to overlook that, but it's, if the media just everybody picks Georgia, maybe they could overlook it a little bit. It's going to be a win.
Streak ends
Saturday. Man, the celebration, the partying that would happen.
Mizzou Twitter is going to be so lit.
You just picture Cody Schrader ripping off a 25-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter to tie the game.
It's reminiscent of Henry Josie.
Not the last game of the season, though.
That's true.
Still going to be a lot of work to do after Missouri wins this one.
That is true.
Missouri wins this game. They jump to 5th, 6th. Will they be the top one-loss team in the college football playoff?
I haven't looked at it that closely. I asked that question on Twitter. A lot of people were saying 6th.
Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, Washington would be undefeated. Oregon has only lost to Washington. Texas, right in there. 5th or 6th.
Yeah. Somebody on Twitter said we would go down 2 spots.
Yeah. Oh, man. There's still a lot to play for either way. Let's go get this win. If it's going to happen, it would be Luther Burden showing up, Brady Cook basically playing flawless. He's throwing the ball away when he needs to.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. They're going to have to play a near perfect game.
He's going to have to use his legs some. And that may be something that they've schemed up a little bit during the bye week.
Yeah, that feels like a little bit of a secret weapon that they really haven't unleashed as much as I thought they would this year. Because he's been passing better than I expected. But in some of those clutch moments, though, he's kind of scrambled, and he's gotten some long touchdowns and stuff. I could definitely see him utilizing the legs a little bit more.
I feel like I'm just waiting for this, like, for something to just confirm it to us that they're going to win, like, right now as we're talking.
We're due. We've had a lot of, we were talking about this before we started recording a little bit. Like, we've had some of these types of moments where there's a lot of buildup, there's a lot on the line, and it hasn't gone well.
Yeah.
And, like, really badly, actually.
Yeah.
And maybe in both sports. But I think I can see a scenario where that all changes.
And Georgia's due for a loss. Like, the most due anybody's ever been for a loss.
Overdue, even.
Yeah, you could say that. Missouri's going to get that win. And going to be a close game. Going to be an all-timer. All-time classic Mizzou game.
Yep. Remember it for the rest of our lives. You'll remember where you were.
Oh, yeah. We're getting together?
We are.
Oh, yeah. The of the MSP brotherhood.
Power of MSP.
That's what they've been missing.
They will feel it.
All right. What? No other games. I mean, everything else this week just like pales in comparison to this matchup. But we'll mention them regardless. We'll pick the rest of the games, I guess. They all just feel so irrelevant. But
I'm sure Alabama LSU totally agrees.
I mean,
come on.
Yeah. That's like.
Come on, we're talking Missouri, Georgia.
Barely any national title implications there. But 3 losses between them.
Oh, yeah.
That is that. The other matchup of 1 loss between them.
Do the math.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Last week.
Shut up already.
Last week, Cameron got 5 points. Kyle got 5 points. I got 3 points. Guest pickers got 5 points. Bringing our season totals to Cameron has 51. Kyle has 53. I have 54. Guest pickers have 54.
Oh, Brian.
It's tightened up.
With
Big
a
week.
legendary week for the guest pickers.
Big week for us, too. Congratulations, Kyle.
Hey, thank you.
We're making up some.
Likewise.
Yeah, thanks. What do we got this week?
Our guest picker this week is Matthew.
Welcome in.
See you on the gridiron, Matthew. Our first game this week is Arkansas at Florida. Florida is a 6-point favorite.
I'm kind of interested in this game as far as like.
Arkansas fired their offensive coordinator.
It's about time.
Is this the first game they've played since that?
I believe so.
Dan Enos?
Yeah.
He responded to
Never
too
heard
many
of him.
emails. Never heard of him.
I mean, basically. Wait, didn't
Exact-
even make it one season?
Didn't he already play? He played. He the former offensive coordinator for Arkansas, and it came back. Who cares?
Yeah.
Give me Florida in this.
Florida.
Easy.
Florida all around.
Yeah. Easy pick.
Next up, we have Jacksonville State at South Carolina. South Carolina is a 15.5-point favorite.
Well, a sneaky game there.
I often see clips of Shane Beamer on my Twitter timeline. It's kind of become a weekly tradition. At
Yeah.
this point, it's like you got to tune in to see what Shane Beamer's going to say. He said his team, you would have thought they were in the Super Bowl the way they were practicing. That's a big thing. That's a big thing for coaches. It's even bigger for Shane Beamer is how your teams practice.
Those legendary pre-Super Bowl practices everybody always hears about.
Yeah. And so for that reason, I must pick South Carolina.
I'll take South Carolina.
They're on a
South
heater.
Carolina all around.
Wow. You're in Super Bowl practice mindset.
I'm glad we've already played them.
Yeah.
Next up is UConn at number 17, Tennessee. Tennessee is a 35.5-point favorite.
Now that is just overkill. 35 and a half. Come on.
You shouldn't be allowed to schedule that kind of game in
That's
November.
disrespectful.
Yeah, Tennessee will probably win.
I agree.
Tennessee all around.
Shane Beamer, though. Sorry, I got to go back to this.
Absolutely.
If they move on from him, I will legitimately be sad. I will miss him every day of my life.
It's a good guy.
Yeah.
Just a good family man.
Is he like defensive, offensive minded?
Special teams. He's beamer ball.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
He specializes in beamer ball,
So he'll show up.
which we still don't know what it is.
He'll show up some other place. You know what? I could see him going to Alabama, trying to bring them a little bit of beamer ball if he gets
Really?
fired.
You think so?
Yeah, send him down to coach rehab. Now I'm speaking a little too soon there. He's still the head coach of South Carolina, so, and I hope for the foreseeable future.
I bet he has one more season after this.
I'm not even joking. I would genuinely miss him.
He'll end up somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Texas A&M at number 10, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 3-point favorite.
Pretty big ramifications for the old SEC West in this one. You don't like that number. You were scowling at only 3 points there.
Yeah, I felt like that. I think this is Ole Miss pretty easily for me.
Where's the game?
Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'll take Ole Miss.
I'll take Texas A&M. Matthew takes Ole Miss.
Okay.
Okay, on an island.
Yeah.
Producer Cameron.
Island
That's where he's
boy.
That's where he's most comfortable.
True.
That's where he does his damage.
That's where he does his best work.
Next up is Auburn at Vanderbilt. Auburn is a 12.5-point favorite.
Has Vanderbilt won an SEC game this year?
No.
Is this their best opportunity at home against Auburn?
I play Kentucky.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah, they've already played Kentucky and lost.
Oh.
Yeah, give me Auburn.
Auburn. Matthew takes Auburn.
Cam's got that look in his eye.
About to do something crazy.
Give me Vanderbilt.
Let's go.
You gotta get 5 points if you win that.
All right, game of the week. Number 14, LSU at number 8, Alabama. Alabama is a 3-point favorite
Game of the week.
for SEC Pick'em.
Bro, we just talked about Mizzou, Georgia for like an hour.
Just for this
As soon as I said that, I knew you were going to have something to say about
for this
it.
segment that specifically does not include the Mizzou Georgia game. It is game of the week. I get you. I got
Yeah,
you.
we're not biased at all.
What's the line? Sorry, I was already
3, it's at Alabama.
In favor of Alabama.
LSU.
Give me LSU. Matthew takes LSU.
Okay, give me Bama.
Ooh, Kyle on an island. I like that.
That's going to be devastating if LSU wins that for the sake of the points.
Yeah.
All right, last and certainly least, Nebraska at Michigan State. Nebraska is a 3-point favorite.
That's incredible. And I'll take Nebraska.
Yeah, I got to go Nebraska. Michigan State, awful.
I'll take Nebraska. Matthew takes Nebraska.
We're all on Nebraska?
Yeah. First time ever?
It might
Probably.
be. In a Big Ten game, yes.
Yeah. They deserve it, though. Yeah, I mean, Michigan.
It's all just Michigan State.
Yeah, they're doing like self-imposed death penalty, basically. That's how bad they are.
All right, that's that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Missouri's going to beat Georgia. We're manifesting it. We're dreaming of it. We're speaking it into existence. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above. Britt Cheese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Tim Keatons, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Groffalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, Luis Hernandez, and producer Cam Van. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We love you very much. You can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast or on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week after a win.